section is review of algebra, and that's exactly what it is. All familiar things that you have done before. So it says, consider the following algebraic expression. 3xy plus 2x minus 7y equals 12x minus 5y plus 10. Now using that, we can use quite a few different words down here to help us to define different things. So first of all, it's an equation. We know it's an equation because it has an equal sign in it. Whenever anything has an equal sign in it, it's going to be an equation. An expression, the equation has two sides. On the left side is an expression, and on the right side is an expression as well. Expressions are things that are separated by plus and minus signs. So the 3xy plus 2x minus 7y, that is an expression. It's three terms that are separated by plus and minus signs. Expressions do not have an equal sign. Okay, so if I took the left-hand side by itself, it would be an expression, but because I put an equal sign into that, it has become an equation. Term. The expressions are made up of terms, and they are the things that are separated by the plus or minus signs. So there are actually 6 terms in that equation that I've given you. So 3xy is a term, 2x is a term, minus 7y is a term, 12x minus 5y, and the 10. All the little parts that are separated by plus and minus signs are terms. The coefficient. Coefficient means the number in front of a letter, okay? So if I ask you for the coefficient of the x, you look through and you find, oh, there's my x, so the number in front of that is the 2. The coefficient is the 2, don't say 2x. The number in front of the x is the 2. The coefficient of y, actually let's not choose y because there's x on the other side as well. The x on this side, the coefficient would have been a 12. The y terms, both of them have a negative sign in front of them. Don't forget to include that if you're asked for the coefficient. So for example, if I was taking this term here, the coefficient would be -7. So just remember to include that minus sign. Pronumeral is the fancy word that we like to call the letters in our equations and expressions. So in our equation, we have 2 pronumerals, x's and y's. They are often used in place of a number. Adding and subtracting, as you've heard all this stuff before. When we are adding and subtracting with algebra, you can only add and subtract like terms. Things are like terms if they have exactly the same letters. Don't worry about the orders of the letters. So an xy is the same as a yx, but they have the same letters. Multiplying and dividing, however, you do not have to have like terms. All you need to do is multiply any numbers together and collect up any letters, or if it's dividing, you divide the numbers and cancel any letters that you can. So there's a box there that says hints for multiplying and dividing. Again, so multiply all the coefficients together and then deal with the pronumerals. Or dividing, write the question as a fraction, because sometimes the things don't cancel out completely. So write it as a fraction first, cancel the coefficients, and then cancel any pronumerals. Expanding is where we want to get rid of any brackets. So you would have something like this one here, 2 bracket a plus 3, expanding that out. You go 2 times a is 2a, 2 times 3 is the plus 6. We'll be practicing that in a minute. And factorizing is the reverse of that, which means we want to put something into brackets. Okay? So now that we've refamiliarized ourselves with all of those terms, let's practice some of these skills. So example 1, we want to simplify 7y plus 8y. We are adding, they are like terms because they're both y's. So all I need to do is add the numbers in front. 7 plus 8 is 15, y. Don't change the letters when you're adding. In B, 3mn plus 2n minus 5m plus 8nm, looking for like terms. An mn is the same as an nm. Don't get tongue-tied saying that. Even though the letters are in different order, they have the same letters. So they can be collected. And notice when I highlight, I always take the symbol in front as well. So the 8, I highlighted the plus as well, because that means I need to do 3 plus 8, which makes 11, MN. Okay, you can, usually alphabetical order is what we choose to do, but it would still be correct if you had written NM for that. The other two terms in that expression are not like terms, so we just have to write them down at the end. So plus 2n and minus 5m. Part C, looking for like terms. I have a positive 3y and a positive 6y that are like terms. The other ones are different. So adding the like ones, 3 plus 6 makes 9y. And again, because the other ones are different, we just have to write those down afterwards, making sure that you put down a plus for that 7. So plus 7y squared minus 3x squared. One more of these. Part D, by far has the more complicated letters in here, looking for like terms. So we have a squared b for the first one. ab squared is different. A squared is different. BA squared, that is the same. Okay, it's just the letters are in a different order, but they both have an A squared and they both have one B. So collecting those up, I have minus 2, and the second one would be a plus 1 because there's no number there. Minus 2 plus 1 is a negative 1, or negative A squared B. The other two terms are different, so we write them down as they are. So minus 44ab squared and minus 9a squared. Okay, so that was a quick little review of adding and subtracting. Question 2 is going into multiplying and dividing. So we don't have to worry about like terms. All we want to do is multiply the numbers out the front. 2 times 5 is 10. And any letters are going to collect up. So I have an A and an M, so they're going to collect up at the end. That's it. Part B, multiply any numbers out the front. So 3 times 4 is 12. And all the letters are going to collect up. So I have an M, an N, and an E, or you can put them in a different order, but as long as those 3 letters are all there. Part C is dividing. Fraction line means divide, and you'd be looking to try and simplify those numbers out the front. Now, unfortunately, I can't do 8 divided by 14. It doesn't go nicely, but we can divide both of those numbers by a highest common factor, which would be, what number do you think? 2. All right, let's divide by 2. So I cancel this off. Dividing by 2, I get a 4. 14 divided by 2 is a 7. Any letters that are on the top and the bottom will cancel off. We did this in our last topic, so this should be very familiar. Once we've done all the cancelling that we can do, we write down what is left. So on the top, I have a 4 and an A, and on the bottom, a 7 and a C. Always just double check when you get your final answer that there's nothing else that can be cancelled, that you might have missed something and you could cancel again. Part D, slightly more complicated version. Just more letters really. 32 does divide nicely by 16 though. 32 divided by 16 goes exactly twice, so you can cancel the 16 off and have a 2 on the top. The B's, I can cancel the B off the bottom and a B off the top. They completely cancel out. The A's, a 7 on the top and 3 on the bottom. So remember from last topic, cancel off the smaller amount. I'm going to cancel off the 3 on the bottom. Subtract the 3 from the 7, which will give me 4 left on the top. And the same thing with the C's. Cancel the smaller one off, which is the 1 on the bottom. Subtract it from the 4 that we had on the top, which means I'll have 3 left on the top. Be neat with your cancelling out, because honestly, some of it on that test, it was very hard to see where your cancelling was and what was left over. So what's left? We have a whole number 2. We have an A to the power of 4. The B's are gone, but we have C to the power of 3. Everything on the denominator is gone, so that's it. Part E. Now you're going to notice this a bit. Some funny little symbols appearing. They're not meant to be like that. These are meant to be division signs. When this got converted, it changed it into a weird symbol. So please change that to be a divide by sign in there. And it's going to be the same thing for F. That's a divide by sign in there as well. Okay? Now it makes more sense. So in the hints section, it said that it's easy if you make your division problems into fractions first, because I can't do 7 divided by 14. I can do 14 divided by 7, that's 2. But 7 divided by 14, we don't want to go to decimals or anything like that. We need to leave them in fraction form. So if we write them as a fraction first, it makes it easier. So 7mn on the top and 14m squared n on the bottom. And then cancelling out like we did last time. So we can divide top and bottom by 7, giving a 1 and a 2. We can cancel off an n on the top and an n on the bottom. They just go all together. With the m's, I have more on the bottom. So we're going to cancel 1 off the top with 1 on the bottom, which means there'd be 1 m left on the bottom. So I'm cancelling the power off, but you can still see that m sitting there. And we write down what's left. On the top, all the letters have cancelled off, and the only number that's left there is a 1. Don't ever put a 0 there. Sometimes when people cancel everything off, they think it's a 0. If everything cancels off, there's a 1 still there in your fraction. On the bottom, I have a 2 and I have an m. Question 2f, same kind of thing. First of all, we want to write that as a fraction. Minus 7pqr over 21 q squared. So first of all, the numbers out the front, we can divide by 7, giving a 1 on the top and a 3 on the bottom. I can cancel the q's. I have 1 on the top and 2 on the bottom. So cancel the 1 on the top with 1 of the ones on the bottom. Cancel off that power and there'll still be a q on the bottom. All right, writing down what is left. I have a minus. I have a Q and, a P and an R on the top, and I have a 3 and a Q on the bottom. All good with that? That's just really what we were practicing last topic, so it's a good little review of that. Question 3. We are now expanding, which means we want to get rid of the brackets. So a quick little review of our distributive law. You want to times the 3 by each thing inside the bracket. I go 3 times A, and you can draw the little arcs on there if you need to. 3 times A is 3A. Then there's a plus sign in the bracket, so that's going to go next. And then I times the 3 with the 5, which makes 15. So that's it, 3A plus 15. It's expanded, done. Let's do part B. Same process. Times what's out the front by the 2m. Minus 3 times 2 is going to make a negative 6. And I have an A and an M. Then a minus 3 times a minus 5, that's going to change my symbol to a plus. Minus and a minus makes a plus. 3 times 5 is 15. And I have an A and an N. Okay, always be careful with minus signs. One of the most common mistakes is expanding minus signs into brackets and forgetting to change symbols. Question 4 is still expanding, but it's just multiple brackets and we'll have to collect up some like terms as well. So first of all, expanding. The first bracket, 2 times A is 2A. Then 2 times a positive 7 is a positive 14. Now I have a plus sign here. This is the easier type, so I can put my plus and expand the second bracket out. 3 times A is 3A, and 3 times 2 is a positive 6. Once everything is expanded, we're looking for like terms. So 2A plus 3A, they're like terms. That makes 5A. Girls? Also, 14 plus 6 makes 20, so a positive 20. Part B of this is the one that has the minus sign in between. This is the one that usually often tricks more people. So let's expand the first bracket. 3g times g is 3g squared. 3g times 5 is a positive 15g. It's the minus sign here. That's the trickier part. Minus 5 times 2 is minus 10g, but a minus times a minus is going to make a plus 15 for that last term. It's usually that one right there that people forget about. Okay, looking for like terms, the 15g and the 10g are like terms, so let's collect those up. The 3g squared, I'm going to put that first. 15 take away 10 is a positive 5g and a plus 15 on the end. And question 5, last one, is to factorize, putting things back into brackets. So you want to find the highest common factor to bring out the front. Looking at the first one, 9m and minus 12, the highest number that I can bring out of that is a 3. So 3 comes out the front, and you're going to open a bracket. To work out what goes inside the bracket, you have to divide each term. So the first term was 9m. If I do 9 divided by 3, I get 3m to go inside the bracket. Then for the 12, or minus 12, minus 12 divided by 3 is minus 4. You divide each one, put the leftovers inside the bracket. Okay, do it again. Part B, 25a to the power of 8 and 15a to the power of 6. Looking at the numbers, the highest common factor is a 5. But letters can also be factors, and I can take out an a to the power of 6 because the 15 has an a to the power of 6. The other one is an a to the power of 8, which means it has 6 plus 2 more, right? It has even more than that. So when I open the bracket up, 25 divided by 5 is 5. Now remember, when you're dividing your indices, you subtract the powers. So the 8 take away 6 would be a squared, still in the bracket. Then for the second term, 15 divided by 5 is 3. And again, you would subtract the powers. 6 minus 6 is 0. Anything to the power of 0 is just 1, which means I don't actually need any a's in the bracket there at all. I just close my bracket, done. Or in other words, I've taken all a to the power of 6 out the front. There's none of them left in the bracket. On the bottom row there, part C and D. When there are negative signs out the front, you have a choice as to whether you can take that out as a factor or not. So either answer will be correct. First of all, let's say it's not a factor. Let's just look at the 4 and the 28 and go, both of those can be divided by 4. Opening up our bracket. The minus sign, because I haven't taken it out the front, I would need to have a negative 1d, or just negative d, plus 28 divided by 4 is 7. Okay, so that's one option. I didn't take the minus sign out. However, you could choose to take it out the front. Sometimes that is beneficial for doing further things for these later on. So bringing the minus sign out the front means I would only have a positive d inside, and 28 divided by minus 4 would mean I would need a minus 7 in there. So either of those two answers would be marked correct. If both of your terms are negative, then you definitely need to bring the minus sign out as a factor. It's only if that front one is negative but your middle one is positive that you can do either option. Okay? And part D, the only factor I have in that is E. No number factors at all. So opening up the bracket, I have an E squared, so one of them's out the front. I'll need a second one inside the bracket. And then a minus. E divided by E means I need a 1 for the second term in that bracket. Any problems with any of that? No, it's a lovely little review, isn't it? So there's quite a long list there, but they are all, we just did a load of questions rather quickly. They're nice and quick to do, okay? So 5A, new chapter.